lots of people think of the Bible, many liberal people think of the Bible as something which hedges people in, constantly. It's very narrow. They think of it as a narrow. They want to run outside it. They want to do all sorts of things. For me, it's the opposite. I see the Bible as an absolute a book full of treasure. Anyway, it's broad. It's full of stuff that you can find and discover or whatever. But the fact that it is my authority is the incredible challenge. You see, because if it's not my authority, what other authority have I got? Well, I got my own authority. And actually, I don't want to all my life follow my own authority. And I'm not gonna get a church full of people following my authority. I don't trust my authority. Who am I? I'd rather follow greater human beings than myself. So if I'm going to remove the authority of Scripture, I've got to have some other authority instead. And generally, when people do that, they put their own authority there. So number one, I don't think I'm good enough to have my own authority over Scripture. But the reality is, it creeps in anyway. Whatever many of us evangelicals believe the Bible is the Word of God, our authority. But we deceive ourselves very often. And we deceive ourselves because we love to preach. We love to preach on our favourite bits in the Bible. Alright? You can't help it. You just pray, Lord, guide me. And really, you want to go to the bits that really that you love, that fit with your personality, and however spiritual you are, that's going to happen. And I recognise this. I believe very much in expository preaching. Do that. Most of my preaching life, I've done that. I love to explain what's there. I preach on the Bible because it's there. All right, not because I got a new idea on it, because it's there. It's there. I want to preach on it. And one of the ways in my own church in Boston that I seek to do this is what we call Encounter Bible Study, and it's a midweek Bible study with a bit of a difference. And what I decided to do, very simply, and this sounds so heretical, I condemn myself in saying it to begin with, that we get a concordance, and we put a Young's Concordance, the Authorised Version, and we put it in the middle of the table. And then we get someone with a pointy pencil, and we just open the concordance anywhere, and we get someone with a pointy pencil to go, whatever verse that lands on, that's the chapter we study that evening. Now, you might say, aren't you being a bit John Wesley when he was first converted, and George Whitfield when he was first converted, just opening for guidance? No, it's nothing to do with guidance. We don't pray, oh Lord, please guide us to the right passage tonight, and this is going to be our wonderful future, or whatever. No. We do that in order that we study passages that we don't want to study. We're taking choice out of Bible study at least once a week. And the reality is, for the last year and a half or so, I've studied passages I would never preach on. I had a big worry. And the big worry, of course, was we're bound to land one day on 1 Chronicles, the first few chapters, which is Adam, Seth, Enosh, or whatever, and begat this and that. And I thought, what do I do if we land there? And I thought, no, where are we going to do that if we land there? And after a few months, we landed there. And we had a whole Bible study on a list of people. One of our best Bible studies. I can't believe it myself. As we all of us wrestled to find out why it was there, sharing with one another. And I can't prepare beforehand. So, but I'm going to lead that group in coming. And we've been all the way through the Scripture. We've been to books that I would have chosen. Passages that are very hard to interpret. And which bring up questions I don't want to go into. But it's there. And if it's there, then I want to listen. And I want to respond. And I want to encounter the God who puts himself there. and there is an encounter. It's not just an encounter with myself, with my own feelings of this and that. Anyone can do that. You can talk to yourself. But it's an encounter with God. That is challenging. Because when you're encountering authority. And that authority is greater than the society we live in. Because today's society will say this, they will say that. And and I believe in trying to fit into society. Don't get me wrong, I'm really into understanding today's society, the philosophy of the day. I want to understand postmodernism, I want to understand everything about all these different sort of things. I really do. I enjoy doing it. But let me tell you this, in understanding it, that is not my message. My message is the scripture, and I want to apply that. So I want to understand so that I can apply. I don't want to take the philosophy of the age and then sort of, pepper and salt over this and make it into a 21st century goody whatever. Oh, no. So what if it disagrees with today's society? So what if the Bible really is not politically correct? So what? Was it ever politically correct? Was Jesus ever politically correct? Never. So for me, the authority is the Bible. If anyone's going to argue, it's okay. Argue with the Bible, don't argue with me. They can argue my interpretation, that's no problem with that. And then probably they could be right in doing that. But in the end, if you've got an authority, that's where you encounter someone different from yourself. Not just an encounter with a superego of your own imagination. By doing that, you're probably falling into the Freudian trap or a Karl Marx trap and his illusion theory of what God is all about. Actually, Richard Dawkins would be right if you do that. It would be a God delusion and not a God encounter.